What's going on, guys, and welcome back to another episode of the Snapchat. Today, we're going to be talking about the brand new card, Thaddeus Thunderbolt Ross. Does he suck? Yes, he does, but the good news is we have a brand new game mode coming in Sanctum Showdown that's going to bring 3 brand new cards to Marvel Snap, and card masteries on the way. So we have a lot to talk about today, and we're going to talk about all that today more on this episode of the Snapchat. And as always, I am joined by the one, the only Mr. Alex Kocha. And Alex, if I sound any different, my mic of 5 years has died. It has fallen. It was the last piece of tech from the old days. Got a brand new one coming in, but we got something temporary for right now, and it's also the day after the Super Bowl. We usually record on Sundays, and we would probably know the result, but it is Saturday today, and so we don't know who won. Congratulations to the Chiefs getting their three-peat, or Eagles getting their second, and the city of Philadelphia up in flames. Alex, how you doing today, buddy?
I'm doing good. I like how your temporary mic is SM7B, like literally a god tier mic that is renowned across the industry. But no, not for Cozy Snap. It ain't good enough for Cozy Snap. Damn it, got to get your custom mic. You know what? I got to tell you, you sound fantastic. You look fantastic. The color's coming back to your skin after the last few weeks of you battling pretty much every illness known to man. It's good to see Cozy back.
Dude, thank you, man. I appreciate it. And it's the end, man. It's the end of football season, and it's the beginning of well, not the beginning of a new Marvel Snap season. That was last week, but certainly a beginning of what they've been saying, the new era. We've got some cool things to talk about today, guys. New location and all. Dude, got a little Super Bowl story for you. So I don't know about you, but in life, right? Do you ever, you're across a moment and you're somewhere and you think to yourself, like, I'll never be here again. I need to appreciate, like, where I'm at. Like, do you have any of those to pull from that you can remember of, like, a place and a time that you're like, I'll never be at this exact moment again?
In that club with Lugwood and XQC in San Diego? Wearing shorts and a t-shirt?
That's not a bad answer, man. That's not a bad answer. It's something I try to think of it all the time, right? Like when I was getting married, right? Or whatever. Just like try to do like snapshots in my head of like, wow, I'll never be able to experience something like this again. So long story short, my grandfather was the previous... he owned the company that did the licensing for all apparel for the NFL. This was back in like the 60s, 70s. You know, my dad went to every single Super Bowl, and I didn't process how insanely rare it is to go to a Super Bowl and just experience the crazy chaos of what it is. So long story short, I got to go to my first Super Bowl, and it happened to be the Falcons versus the Patriots. Super Bowl 51, which it arguably is, in my opinion, okay, I'm a Patriots fan, but the best Super Bowl of all time. There's got to be someone that's a Falcons fan out there. I'm 28-3. I'm sorry, you're still thinking about it. Greatest comeback of all time. But I got to be able to experience that, and the Rams won. And it's, dude, going to the city. The game's amazing. Very corporate-y. There's not as many fans as you would think that get to go there. It's a very corporate thing. But the city that hosts it, dude, it's like the Olympics, man. It's so cool to be able to go and experience that. And so if it's ever, I don't know, in Buffalo, which it won't be. I think it's only in hot states. You got to check it out. Or if anyone listening, you're near New Orleans or the next city, I think, is maybe Las Vegas. I don't know. Got to go check out Super Bowl, you know, the city during the Super Bowl. It's cool stuff.
That reminds me of like my experience at Formula One in Montreal, I guess. I think that's the closest I can get to a similar experience.
Sick.
Whereas like my buddy lived in Montreal because he was going to McGill, which is like the university there. And so we stayed on the cheap. We were there. We bought like the cheapest tickets available for Formula One, which were still like $280 or something, which at the time was like so much for us. And like the whole city was crazy. And it was like legit like Ferraris in the streets. All like the richest dudes were just driving around doing donuts and stuff. I was like, what is happening here? You know, it was pretty cool. It was a neat experience. And like, yeah, the race was cool, but the city was alive in a way that like I'd never seen before. And Montreal as a whole is like the Vegas of Canada.
Formula One is something that you have to be there in person to appreciate just how insanely cool it is. Like, you know, you see NASCAR or whatever, or even F1 on TV, and you're like, ah, cool, you know, fast cars. When you're there, dude, and you can feel the car in your body as it goes by, like, it's a very cool environment for sure. But all right, guys, well, we have a lot to talk about today. We're gonna be talking about 4 new cards today, which is crazy. Some of them are Not exactly home run hits, but I'll be excited to talk about them. And we got a lot to talk about on Alex's side. Alex, enlighten us. What are we talking about?
Cozy, we're going to be talking about Sam Wilson and Joaquin Torres Falcon. We're giving our reviews. We'll also be talking about cards that need to drop in series. They discuss that series drops will be coming sooner and bigger than ever before. And hey, we're about that time where it should be coming up sometime in the near future. We'll be discussing some cards. And then, as always, our Snapchat mailbag.
Alrighty, buddy. Well, let's go ahead and start this thing off with usually the new card is the most exciting thing to talk about of the week, but we've got some other things probably a bit more exciting, but we've got to talk about them. The one, the only Thaddeus Thunderbolt Ross. What a name. You know that he says his full name when he introduces himself to a lady at the bar every single time. TTR for short. Now, we thought potentially before the trailer came out that we were going to see maybe a little bit of a buff up in this guy. Maybe something was a bit off here. We weren't sure. Nope, it is exactly as advertised, as we thought. Thaddeus TTR is going to be a 2-cost, 2-power card. When your opponent ends a turn with unspent energy, draw a card with 10 or more power. So, Alex, we gave some of our unfiltered takes last week on this guy. What are we thinking of TTR?
I see like 2-star potential. Like a 1.5, 2-star potential range. Obviously, card draw can be incredibly powerful in Marvel Snap. And I don't want to like discredit him because I think that like when I was trying to kind of pen and paper some decks, obviously Surtur is a major component of where I think TTR is going to be fitted. And he actually has space in the 2 slot to kind of fit him. Like it does not feel like a reach to just throw him into that kind of deck, right? But at the same time, it's like this effect feels strong, but I do not like the fact that your opponent is in control of it. And of course, it has to be on the board on turn 2 when they are actually floating the energy to take advantage of it. You know, I'm not a big fan of it. I can see this card being the 15th card in every 12-card deck.
Doesn't even make the next cut. Yeah, I think I said on the preview a 2-2, and I'll give him a 2. And that sounds about right. Even less than that, it's even hard giving him a 2 a little bit too, right? Like I almost want to give him a 1 just because of ultimately his narrow design, where he's going to fit, and then even in those decks, does he even want to belong there, right? Like there's some examples we have of that, let's say in discard, maybe something like Meek for a long time. Obviously now Meek's a little bit better because we have, Bullseye and whatnot. But back then, it's like Meek didn't even want to be in the niche deck that he was in, and that made him a bad card for a while. This is kind of the same feelings I have from TTR over here, and I'm just not thoroughly impressed. I do like his pose. I think he looks very menacing. He reminds me of, have you seen Inside Out? Fantastic Pixar movie before?
Yeah, I have actually. Inside Out's a good one.
Yeah. And so there's the best part of that movie is when they go to the parents, and there's like the in the mind of the parents. And the dad, asked the kid to do something, and she, yell at him, and he's like initiating, put the foot down, and it like they have like a special nuke button for putting the foot down. That looks like a dad putting the foot down right there, man, with the presence of TTR. Do you think that this guy has any room to surprise us?
You know what? Potentially. There's a chance that he can do something in Airsham. If you think about the sides of the deck with Airsham, he provides some consistency there, but obviously you're less likely to draw him, right? However, with the new version of Airsham, you have basically the first 2 turns where essentially you're going to want to play a 1 or 2 because obviously you don't have that existing extra energy. And so if you float and then you draw something with 10 power, on that turn 3, you're more likely to be able to play something of significant power because you have the extra energy, right? So I was thinking about Airsham. I'm like, could it work? But Airsham decks, I think, have been pretty strong. And we've talked about this a number of times. Like, I'm actually not a huge fan of where Airsham is because of the fact that, I feel like his identity's kind of, just muddied compared to what it used to be. But ultimately, it's like trying to talk about, Toxin and try to say, oh, I'm going to put Toxin in this shell and this shell. It's like, well, no. It's going to be a bounce card, and Thaddeus Thunder Ross is going to be a Chonky Boy card. It's going to go in Surtur decks. It potentially is going to go in Airsham decks. Don't try and force it in Surfer decks or whatever, which obviously is literally an impossible synergy. But I'm just saying, don't force it. Let it do what it's designed to do. And even then, I'm not sold.
You're not going to run TTR with your Surtur and your Surfer decks to get the 10 power cards out, get Surtur up there? Come on, man, Alex. I thought you'd be...
Sorry.
And also, usually, this guy I've got like 2 bullet points on. And last week I brought up Airsham. I'm like, all right, this is going to be my bullet point. Got some things to talk about. And then here it is. Alex just ripping right out with the Airsham take. So I'm left just naked and alone over here. No, I do think Airship is a decent spot for him. I mean, we'll talk about a new card coming out that is going to counter Airship even more, even though, yeah, I think you put it right. It's almost like some of these designs were made when Airship was where he was at, and now that he's taken back a little bit, feels a little bit off of the timing for these cards. So, yeah, potentially Airship, and then with that, you also got, obviously, the Scar, and then the 10-plus power decks. Now, I think I talked about last time, I do like the idea that he does get better over time in the sense of there's going to be more 10 power cards that come out. Okay, you can make those work. His animation's sick. I don't know if you saw the trailer. It's like a payload coming in from a helicopter of your 10 power card. Pretty cool stuff there. Yeah, I think what we talked about last time is if they made this guy a one cost, I really like him because he just works with the flow of the deck extremely well. He's not. I would probably make space for him for a one cost because I feel like he just would play better and you have a much more accurate of a shot for the opponent not to use their energy. Maybe on turn 1, you immediately get that 10 draw and it just feels good, right? By turn 2, you wouldn't think one turn difference is a big deal, but it is. There's just so many things that can fit that role, fit that spot. So it's hard for me to like it. I know we talked about last time that, you know, obviously the play of being able to get him down with some Zabu action, Zabu then him is cool. And certainly that 3-card line, 2-card line could work out. But I think that's just another card. It takes too much away from the core deck. And it's what we said last week is it's a 12-card deck game. And sometimes there's designs that are hindered by that. And to me, TTR is that.
Yeah, exactly. Like if you're playing Magic or Lorcana or like any card game with a larger deck, right? Like even Commander runs 100 cards, right? Like, yeah, you throw Thunderbolt Ross in there, right? But like in a game like Marvel Snap where the decks are so tight and each card has to really pull its weight. That's really what makes Marvel Snap decks so effective. It's like each individual play is so impactful. And TTR doesn't do that. And with regards to him being a one cost, that is interesting. But I still think to some degree he's still kind of you still want to draw into him, right? So you're going to want to hope to draw into him early because he's not a dead play on turn 6, but he effectively is useless on turn 6. And if you think about another point, 2/2 is a terrible stat line. Like cards are not surviving at 2/2. Jeff's a 2/3 and doesn't see play right now. To put it in perspective, right? There's been so much power creep as we discussed last week at the 2 slot. Why would you play a 2/2 with limited upside? So it really has to pull its weight. And that's why I'm with you. I'm surprised that it didn't get nerfed. And I think that Glenn has been traditionally very hesitant with card draw. Like I totally respect that. But at the same time, like this card's not exciting at all.
Yeah, I mean, if we look at the other 2/2s, you have Carnage, a massive setup card. Dagger that infinitely goes higher. Dazzler goes much higher. Forge is setting up. You know, Forge has infinite plug and play ability and setup plays. You know, you have Goose that enables at least strategy, and honestly, Goose isn't a tremendously great card, but at least it's a fair comparison to a Thunderbolt. Goose could go to a 2/3. Hazmat, we already know the insane synergy and power flip that you could do with that. Loki's doing his whole shtick that he does. Master Mold at least is having a pretty powerful effect immediately against the opponent, but Deuce is going to a 2/5. There's actually a lot of 2/2s. Mirage is giving you another card. You're getting 2/4 at a Sinister. Mojo goes up. Psylocke's ramping. Ravona's there's a lot of 2/2s, but they all do something that I feel is much stronger than what Thunderbolt Ross is giving us. And that's what's interesting. Now, maybe it feels good to play. We've been there before. But I think this one is one we can feel pretty safe at saying we don't love the idea for him. You know, if we do go to just 10 power and up, right? As my game lags behind here. We'll go here to 10 power. Anything that sticks out where it's like, man, drawing this early is going to be pretty dang cool.
Hulk, I would say, for Evo, because it's going to take advantage of the floated energy early, and it's going to like get procs, right? So like I would definitely think Hulk, to some degree She-Hulk as well, but I don't like, I was looking at this, I was trying to make an Evo deck. It's funny, I actually think Evo with the new buff to Luna Snow might actually be better than people think it is. I was testing it, I'm like, either everyone I'm playing against is a bot, or this deck's actually not bad. So that's another video for another day. But I would say definitely the Hulk. She-Hulk's in there as well. I don't know if I run like Infinite technically in those decks, but you could technically run Infinite in those types of decks as well. But you start to run out of space for your activators early on. Yeah, I would say Evo's potentially a place, but I think Surger's the most natural.
Yeah, we said what Hella, whatever. I mean, kinda like it works in there, but then you're kind of limiting what you need to do. It just you're replacing a line with a line, right? Like you're replacing, let's say, a 2-cost discard or any other type of role in that deck with TTR. And I don't hate hybrid decks. I think they can work sometimes, but like when you have something like Hella, it's typically an all-in, right? And making that one thing work really well. And so yeah, as it's said best, he is solving a problem that we don't really have at the moment. And that's the overall expectation of TTR. So with other cards coming out, it is a recommended pass for us, at least right now. We might be eating our words, but who knows? Time will tell. Let's move on, shall we, to more important, more exciting things, Alex?
I would love to move on, sir.
We said last week, hey, I hope that the trailer doesn't have anything of significant value that we would miss. And lo and behold, they decided to drop not only a brand new game mode, but 3 new cards, which is, I would say, on a level of importance that we missed. So today we're going to break down all the new cards here, starting out with Laufey, Alex. And Laufey is a Frost Giant who is a 4-cost, 5-power card. An interesting ability of on reveal, you will steal 1 power from each other card here when you play him down. Definitely interesting. And before we get into any talk on them, immediate star rating.
Oh, we're doing star ratings for the free cards?
Of course we are. I don't have them down.
I was not prepared for this.
Hey, it's okay. I wasn't either. I don't have them down, but let's do it quick.
It's like 3.5, 4.
Man, I think this is the best card of the 3 that we're going to talk about. I can confidently say that.
I think one's better.
You think one's better? Okay, that's Uncle Ben. No, so
Yeah.
I feel like this guy's being slept on a little bit. So first of all, he's going to be stealing, so we know that always counts for 2 power typically, right? He's stealing from your lane and the opponent's lane to build himself up, which, there is some potential synergy there. Obviously, we've got tremendous synergy with the clear-cut Ajax, who's going to like this guy because you're having power being taken from your cards and their cards. Ajax goes up. So theoretically, him and Ajax in separate lanes is kind of cool. Builds up 2 big power cards. And then also Diamondback, who we just talked about. Diamondback's a huge winner from this guy. If you plan on getting Diamondback, this is the card you want to target. Yeah. We're going to talk about the new game mode here in just a moment to understand how to even get these guys. But there is a couple other synergies people aren't thinking about. Now, I want you guys to understand, stealing the power means if there's just 2 cards on your opponent's side, not your side, but just your opponent's side, you're getting a 4/9.
Yeah, no, it's awesome. Like if let's say you're against a zoo player and they're zooing into an Ant-Man location and you play Laufey down, like that's huge value. Like it's actually pretty impressive what you can do. It reminds me of it's basically cracked out Rocket and Groot that can't move, right?
Yeah. So I mean, if we look at other cards that are 4/9, 4/10, we were just going, we were saying Ares is so good at that 4/12. This guy's got the potential to be with 1 card to 4/7, 2 card to 4/9, 4/11, 4/13. That's really good. The awkward thing is you'd have to play him late to get that 4/13 or even 4/11, but a 4/9 with not a lot of play and then also synergize, or even the 4/11 that can happen a good amount of the time. That's huge. That's a good way to play him. Plus, he's got other synergy on top of that with the other cards. That's why I think he might be a winner.
Yeah, and you'd have to consider as well, like with Zabu, he comes down to 3. A card like this would probably not be able to be released with the old classic ongoing Zabu because you'd guarantee a 3 power, 3 cost, sorry. But yeah, like this card is really interesting, and it's also weird because we need to talk about Luke Cage, obviously, because Luke Cage as his catch-all for Affliction, it starts to feel a little awkward in weeks like this, where it's like with Diamondback, people just run Luke Cage. They just take whatever deck they're playing and they just cut a card and add Luke Cage and they just continue playing, and it completely douses the effect of every new card that's coming out with Affliction, and Laufey's going to be the same way. And it makes me wonder, though, there also is a synergy, though, because you could play on top of your cards. Let's say Laufey is, gets hit by Zabu, who's a 3 cost. You can play him on top of your cards, steal the power from your own cards, and then also play Luke Cage and like top your cards back up to standard, and Laufey would have stolen the power, right? So I guess that's a cool interaction, but like Luke Cage occupies this very weird space in this game that like it must weigh on Glenn's conscience when releasing new cards.
I don't think he's as bad. I mean, like, we always say, well, you could just play Shang-Chi, you can just play Luke Cage, but the reality is people don't. I mean, like, there's only 12 cards. People are not taking that in there, and it doesn't happen a lot where it's like, I have a Surfer deck, I'm going to throw in Cage in there sometimes, but yes and no. I think, obviously release valves are important, and that's what makes some of these, like, overpowered. To your point, I think it's important to address, Luke Cage does have synergy with him, pretty good. I mean, you can get Laufey here to crazy numbers. You have to play Luke Cage second. That's the most important thing. If Luke is on the board first, you're not able to steal that power from your own cards in the first place. So that is some important consideration there. Luke does want to be played with the majority of the cards as well, for the most part, that are going to synergize with him. So you also have that synergy. But I've got a secret sauce that people aren't thinking about with this guy. So I have him at 3.5, but I would put him at a 4 if this deck works out. Can you even take a guess what I'm going to say?
No, I have no idea.
Dude,
I'm like trying to think.
I'm proud of this. So I think there's a shot, okay? Dude, I even forgot where this guy is because he's
trying to find Agatha? Oh, never mind.
a nihilist.
Ooh, this is a cook. I like this.
So you could steal from your own rocks or 0 power cards or whatever on your side, make them in the Annihilus frame or 1 power, right? Anything, right? You can make it work where Annihilus already wants to be with some of these kind of weird decks. You could also, like, let's say you have the Void down, you could play, him to steal even more and then send those over. I think there's some cool synergy for a card that has been virtually gone, right? Ever since Viper got her buff. There's some synergy here that could work with a 4-5 play to get the maximum result out of Laufey.
I like this. This is a really cool call. And you're right, because in my notes here, I have like junk cards like Debris and the Goblins will like Laufey as well. And those are things that work really well with the Nihilus, right? And then you could even have, you could cope with Selene. You could even think about, this is neat, because let's say you have like rocks there and stuff like that. You can play Laufey on the rocks, you can Annihilus. And then you could consider, like, if Laufey's sitting there, you could even, I don't know if he'd ever be worth hitting with Cersei, though. I was just thinking, would you ever want to hit him with Cersei? Probably not, because once you steal the energy, I think his stats are high enough, right?
No, but you could have Cersei in that build, right? Because then you have that either or thing that you do with the Void sometimes. And Void just got, Sentry Void just got a little buff up too. Like, I think this whole little picture might be able to come together. There's a shot that it can work all together. And think about it, man. Stealing the power from your opponent, gaining the power on your side, then sending them over. That's a obvious lane winning play, right?
It's also on curve. Because on turn 3, you Debris, turn 4, you Laufey, or you Sentry, turn 5, you Nihilus.
Yep. Yeah. I think that
this is awesome.
Thank you, man. My thing is I feel like that is what could make him up to a 4 and why he's probably my favorite. But I have one other too, and this one's a bit more obvious than a Nihilus. But I feel like too, I don't even need to pull up the card I was going to pull up. I'll pull up another one here. I think that this could be a really good thing for High Evo. The way that he's played with Abomination makes me excited because of that Affliction style all at once. It feels like he should be a good addition to that as well.
You know what you just really reminded me of? That the Thing is a 4/6.
Exactly.
Oh my God.
It is a...
What are we doing?
I know, dude. It's so funny, man. So we just got that tremendous Fantastic Four trailer. Don't know how we did you see that? Please tell me you saw it.
I watched it because my kids watched it too, and they thought it was... They have no idea who the Fantastic Four is, though.
Yeah, well, I mean, as they've shown it, I mean, there's only 2 movies that really... I mean, the Fantastic Four has been done dirty for the past 2 decades, and, man... I got high expectations, dude. The way the CGI was on the Thing, they nailed the Thing's personality down so well on that, and
looks awesome. Yeah.
Oh, the era. I think I'm pumped for it, man. Really, I am. And Galactus. You know what's cool about this too that people don't realize is I'm pretty sure this is a separate world than the 616 MCU world. So I think Galactus is gonna shut up. Sorry, I had to bleep both those out on the podcast. I think he's going to eat. I think he's gonna eat the world, man. He's going to be the world eater. I think we might see because typically it's like Galactus shows up. We're like, oh no, he's not going to do the thing he does. He can't do that, right? What if he did? What if he just ate
You know
the
what
world?
I'm hoping for? I'm
What?
hoping for a Silver Surfer cameo, the Herald of Galactus.
Silver will be there. Yeah. I think Surfer's in. In fact, people
Really?
speculated.
You know this?
Yeah. The actors announced. So what I think is there's a part of the trailer where Human Torch is going through the city, like doing his little flame on, and he's chasing something. It looks like people think that they rendered out the Surfer, so like he's chasing the Surfer, but they rendered because they do that in trailers to kind of keep things behind the curtain or whatever for the first bit. But yeah, I do think the Herald will be there. But what if Galactus just takes a bite of this world like he's eating like a Reese's, just right out of it like an apple?
I like how you went Reese's, not Apple. But
I wanted to bring up the spoon
he seemed
thing.
kind of small. His shadow seemed kind of small.
So Galactus can be any size, not any size, but he doesn't have to just be giant. That's not he could be multiple sizes. Maybe we get Squirrel Girl coming in to save the day. Who knows? Who knows?
Would love that. Squirrel Girl's lore is ridiculous.
The cameo would
by
be
the way.
awesome.
Like I love it so much. And also, I actually just love Squirrel Girl. I can't get over how awesome her lore is.
I just hope they do the F4 the right way. Like people have so much love for the new heroes, and like you look at the Thing and it's like, who cares? Like we have the Hulk, but the Thing is such a cool character, and so it's being able to bring all their faults to light, and then like the pros and the cons, and really the obviously the first family feel. And I'm a sucker for like old time with future tech. I think it's such a cool era to cover, and so Fantastic Four doing that it is awesome. Can't wait. Also, I also love to see that they're obviously in the MCU world eventually that we know and love. Council of Reeds, if you guys know, a lot of cool stuff coming. Anyway, things sucks in Marvel Snap. That's where we got from all this. You have something to say?
One thing I will say about the movie though that's really exciting too, and I try to celebrate this with my kids. I was showing my kids and like they weren't as impressed, but for anyone that has kids, I often talk about what the superpowers are of the heroes. So I'll ask my kids, I'll say, what's Iron Man's superpower? And they'll say, he can fly, he's got his suit, he can shoot blasts. I'm like, no, he's smart. He's studied at school. He's a genius. What's Thanos' superpower? You might not realize that he also has genius level intellect. What's Mr. Fantastic superpower, right? I like talking about how like intelligence is a superpower. And so like that's just something I lean into with my kids. I just thought I'd share that.
I love that. I'm always like, I'm the opposite. I'm like, Hulk's big and strong, right, son? I should probably talk about the brain part more. He's two, I just go with the big stuff for now. But yeah, it is cool, man, that a lot of the really the biggest, baddest heroes are just the smart ones, man. Like the super smart ones, Doctor Strange even. But anyway, Thing sucks. Not a great hero. I think Laufey really even highlights that even more. You now have a 4/6 that wants to be in high evo, probably more than he does. But I think that the Abomination build does have a place, and I'm excited. So I think this guy, there's more there than that meets the eye at first, and potentially Laufey would be the first one that I recommend, not TTR, but Laufey would be the first one I recommend to go for.
Can I say something? We haven't said it in a long time.
Yeah.
If Laufey is good for Abomination, Moon Girl double up. Let's go.
There we go. Got that. Hey, thank you. I appreciate that. I appreciate you looking out for that. All right, next up we have Gorgon. Gorgon, guys. He is a 2-cost 3-power card, and he is interesting as his ongoing effect. Your opponent's cards that didn't start in their deck cost 1 more. And I feel like this guy's coming out a little bit late, a little bit on the late side over here, but clearly we've got the Airsham counter, the Victoria Hand counter, the, dare I say it, Agent Coulson counter. Take a moment of silence. And I also think Gorgon in the future will be really good for draft mode because cards that can create cards are very strong in draft mode. And he's kind of a location counter. But like we talked about with, what was that loser's name? Cobra. Is there a spot? Is there a spot for Gorgon in these decks, right? Like, to me, because of Airsham and the reign of Airsham dying down, this card feels like Mobius and Mobius. When will you put him in a deck?
Yep, exactly. He's not a great release valve. I actually don't think he acts as a good release valve. I think he can be used offensively. We'll discuss that momentarily. Before I get into that, though, I want to say that I really hope, I know this will never happen, but I just want to throw this hope out there, that we could get a variant that's a Goron from Legend of Zelda, because every time I hear Gorgon, I think about Gorons. And so I don't know why, those big rock dudes, the fire rock
Of course
dudes.
I do. Of course
I love those dudes.
Yeah, I
I'd
do
love
like
to see
those.
a variant of that if Nintendo will allow. Very, non-litigious, company Nintendo. Loves fanfic. Very,
Yeah, love.
like,
Definitely doesn't
loves
do
the
DMCA.
fanfic. Will
Yeah.
let you use their IP at willy-nilly, however you want, Marvel, no
Dude.
worries. But yeah, I think you're right, dude. I don't think you'll use this card defensively. I think it's purely going to be used offensively.
Side note on this, I used to talk about both Star Wars and Marvel. If they ever made like a Call of Duty or like a Overwatch style game, it would do good. Rivals came out, and it's not surprising, right? It's a big undertaking, bro. If Nintendo made a card game like Snap, it would go bonkers. I know they have Pokemon. No, I'm talking like what you just said, Zelda. It's like Super Smash, right? Everything under it is under that umbrella, dude. It would be. That game would be a moneymaker, man. Like imagine
Lorcana, but Nintendo.
Yeah, imagine using the guy, the Goron, that does the dance from the Ocarina.
Yeah.
Oh man,
yeah.
I would love that, man. I forgot that.
And then
guy's
like
name.
the spell cards are songs, and so you can like play the Song of Storms.
I still have those songs built in my memory, man. Just built right into my.
It's going in my head right now.
Oh man, all of them. I could name most of them. Even some of the.
And like the accordion sound before it, while the guys in like
dun,
the little what's it called?
Yeah.
He's in
just
the
pissed off
windmill.
in the
He
world.
has the accordion.
Yeah. And then you go in the past, or you go in the future, and he's like even more mad. You're like, dude, this guy just never. He never chills. He just never. It's a good game.
I remember spending like days trying to get the what was it called, the wedding couple mask.
Oh yeah. Oh, the Pikachu mask. Essentially, it looks like a Pikachu, the yellow one.
Yeah, absolutely. But it took forever.
It sucked. You had to like go through like a. This is super off topic. I think Zelda games though are like meant the most to me in my childhood. Almost. I think they were some of the best games to me growing up. Like Ocarina, Majora's Mask, Link to the Past, all of it, incredible. And I know the lore really well too. It's a very cool universe. It's probably like, oh man, you got me going. Anyway, okay, should we?
Everyone our age remembers hitting the water temple for the first time and being like stressed out. Remember the water temple?
Do I remember the
Such
water
a savage
temple? Oh, it was
temple.
I remember being a kid before strategy books were out, and you had to give Jabu Jabu a fish to go in his belly as like young Link, and that took me like 2 weeks to figure out. Like you had to hear about it through a kid of a neighbor, and you're like, oh, that's how. Like that was the golden age that we'll never get again of video games, where you couldn't go online and look stuff up.
Yeah, like literally the schoolyard is like where you'd find out the legitimate strategies to figuring out the water temple in Zelda.
Oh, dude,
yeah,
so good, so good. All right, yeah. So that was a huge derail on Gorgon and Goron. But yes, so I think he's coming out late. I think he's like Mobius and Mobius. The only thing that I see this guy being cool for is you play him down and then you play Black Widow and you send over the widows. I think we talked about that like way long ago. That's the only time where I think like, okay, but I still think that's probably gimmicky.
I was thinking about what I'm going to do for Gorgon in terms of a deck, and there used to be an attempt to do Darkhawk and Ronin together because you almost kind of did the same thing, but they were a little bit mutually exclusive from one another. But Gorgon might just be a card that brings it together because if you think about it, the rocks will be more expensive, although they don't generally play the rocks anyway. But you got Master Mold, right? Those Sentinels become more expensive. The Widow's Bite becomes more expensive. And if they're not drawing things, they're also helping the Darkhawk to some degree. So like, there's a chance that Korg, Rockslide, Master Mold, Black Widow, Gorgon, and then like literally the Ronin shell with Darkhawk might be legit. The deck, like we're almost done. The deck right there. Like the deck kind of writes itself. And I would be very interested to see how that works because it has the offensive capability. And then as a kind of side hustle, you get the defensive side too against the Arishims and everything else. So that's kind of where I'm going to lean with it.
There's a shot. Yeah, I thought about Master Mold too. I was like, interesting. Like, at least Master Mold has some new use case of a card I haven't played in way too long. But so you said there was one card better than Laufey. Was it this guy?
This one, yeah. The reason why is because I'm trying to figure out a like Ronin Darkhawk deck with Moonstone where you could basically like either Ronin or Darkhawk on turn 5 with Mystique on turn 6, and if you have Moonstone down on 4, you can like double dip on the effects. I think that could be potentially pretty interesting. I'm trying to figure out like what those lines look like. I'm still trying to like figure it out. Again, we got hit with these cards right off by surprise here, right? But like I do think that like this potentially has more offensive capabilities than Laufey is. I just see it having more meta relevance, but not by a long shot. Like I still think it's like a 3.5, 4-star card. I just like it ever so slightly more than Laufey.
The only other thing I thought about that you could do with him is you could play Spectrum and Moonstone. So Moonstone, you double it up even more, so you make it even worse for them. But then also mainly Spectrum. It's a 2-body. I like the 2-body as a 3 on it, and it's kind of what you're saying. You're able to have the tech card of it, and then you're able to I know for sure if Triple M Mobius and Mobius was a 2, you would play it Spectrum just because you're getting now that 2-body for a little bit extra. That feels pretty good, and then you have the that to me feels like it has a shot as well.
One thing I'll mention though, I was just thinking about this because I literally just did like a weekly deck guide, and Arisham's not really caring about multiple cards per turn right now. Like I wonder how much this affects Arisham, because Arisham's playing Doom 2099 packages right now, where it just wants to play one big card after another, and that's kind of the top shell of Arishem. So it might not even really counter that all that much.
It'll slow it
so
down.
I think you might want to lean into it offensively more than defensively for sure.
Yeah, it might slow it down a little bit, but I think what it does too is it allows them to occupy that space more creatively, so they can make more cards that do stuff like Iron Patriot did.
Yeah.
And obviously this is a big Iron Patriot counter, kind of. But like it's those effects are so cool, but they've needed something to release valve it a little bit, and so now we've got that even more. So obviously Victoria Hand is going to help them, but it's cool to slow that engine down. Last but not least, this card has been here since the beginning of Snap. Uncle Ben has been around in the data mines, and Uncle Ben is finally releasing into the game. He's a 1-cost, a 2-power card. Alex, on reveal, when this card is destroyed, replace it with Spider-Man. Core went out. Core went out for Uncle Ben, getting replaced by Spider-Man, a 2/4. Now, at the time when the game came out, Spider-Man was a 5/2 or something like that, a 5/3. I know. Alex is taking a full minute to shed a tear for Uncle Ben. It's only moments from now until we get an Aunt May that blows up from Green Goblin. Yeah, I mean, hey.
Spoilers, dude.
What? Spoilers? Dude, that was on like the old... Oh. Yeah. I'm just thinking of the one where... I was thinking of the Tobey Maguire one, man.
Don't tell them about the Star Wars one. That one always gets people every single time.
The Darth Vader thing? We can't talk about it.
Don't
We had enough user complaints. They got mad at us enough. Listen here. Uncle Ben is, in my opinion, just a worse... Not a worse. I guess he's just a Bucky Barnes. Again, that Bucky's not being played. Winter Soldier's not being played unless you're playing Rivals. I feel like once upon a time, this card was okay if you had Spider-Man to what he was at a 5-cost. Now, what are we doing?
I think they sat down. They're like, all right, we got Uncle Ben. He was literally data mined in the beta. Let's, for memes, not change him. And yes, he's worse than Uatu.
Yeah.
Let's make him a free card.
We said new era. They told us to pull out all the stops. It's time to release the Kraken. Uncle Ben.
So the only coping I did with this is theoretically, and even now it doesn't work because it's not even a 3-cost anymore. But what if you had like Silver Surfer with like Nova Killmonger, and you could blow it up and you'd get the Spider-Man down with the Silver Surfer? That could have been cool, but that doesn't even work anymore. So like, what are we even doing? There is a new card that's been data mined called Firehair that brings back a destroyed card when it's moved. So then you could double proc on Uncle Ben, but why the hell would you do that? So like, I think is this a 0-star card? Is this a card that you never ever play? Seriously?
I was also thinking like, it's not the first, but it's damn near close of one of the least relevant things to come to the game. This opens the floodgate to now hit like anything Marvel. Like almost all these cards we have, they got superpowers. They can do things, right? And then you got Uncle Ben. Like, it's just, to me, it's hilarious that this guy's in here. I hope
next game mode they're gonna release like who they gonna release?
You think there's a variant that he's dead on the ground?
Oh, it's so savage.
I mean, I'd buy it.
Would you?
If you have like, the Tobey Maguire like holding him, like,
with great power.
You want to buy that?
Great responsibility.
Yeah, I have to, man. He better say that when he dies. Oh, I hope when he dies he says that.
He has to though.
If
He
they
has
don't,
to. He must.
I will make a video complaining. I'll be like, what are we doing? What are we doing? All right, let's talk about quickly, guys. Let me pull this up here. I'm going to put better stuff up for everybody else. It's
I just thinking like in terms of like opening this up for more Marvel characters, it's like you're gonna get like Norman Osborn's secretary as a card.
The guy in the bus next to Shang-Chi in the bus scene. Yeah, like it opens up a can of worms. All right, all of these cards, Alex, though, are gonna be coming from Sanctum Showdown, a brand new game mode, temporary game mode. I hate when they say game mode and it's like temporary, but temporary game mode that'll be coming to Snap, and I think it's pretty damn interesting. We'll talk about the game mode in a second, but the most interesting thing to break down is the rewards that will come from it. By far, the thing we have to highlight, the thing we have to talk about is you have the ability to get not one, not two, 4 Series 4 or 5 cards just from playing this game mode. This is something we've wanted for so long. The chance to play the game and be rewarded back. Put in the grind if you want the cards for free, and you have the chance to get essentially 4 or 5 unowned, big bold word, unowned Series 4 or 5 cards. Bro, that's massive.
We've never seen anything with the unowned tag on it. Like, that's crazy. That's what
Unowned.
like we were hoping the like random card on the series spotlight caches was always going to be the unowned. They have the technology, Cozy.
It's there.
Proof. They can do it.
I know.
It's here. We can do it. Yeah, this is huge. One thing worth mentioning though is just to like temper some expectations. Glenn did make a comment where it's like he said like it's very unlikely you'd be able to, as a free-to-play player, unlock everything. Right? Like, I think they tried to give you as many options as possible, so you get to like pick and choose what you want. But like, if you're like, I'm gonna get all 3 new cards, I'm also gonna get 4 Series 4 and 5 cards, and I'm gonna get every single border, every single variant. Like, I don't think that's actually possible.
Do we know if you can get the
wallet.
cards? Like, screw all the borders and whatever. But can you just get the cards? Do you think?
I don't want to misquote him, but I believe he said it's unlikely, but he'd be very happy if someone was able to.
And what the hell are the scrolls? Do we know what those are?
I have no idea. I was
Okay.
hoping you knew.
No, I don't know. I didn't do enough research. What I can tell you, though, is there's a bunch of borders you could get. Werewolf by Night, Jeff, and Mr. Sinister emotes that all look fantastic. Baron Zemo, Wong, and Doctor Strange, obviously fittingly, are going to be in there as well. So all cool rewards there, and then you can open a portal. It's half the cost to get a new card, by the way, than to get an unknown, about half the cost to get an unknown Series 4 or 5 card is kind of what we know as of now. Now, if you want to know what the game mode is, we don't know a ton, but what we do know is you are going to be getting points, 1 point per location, or 2 points if it's the Sanctum location. And your goal is to get, and this is every single turn, you're going to try to get 16 points in total to win the, you're going for 16 points in total to win the game. And so what the snapping mechanic is it makes that Sanctum location worth more. And so it's definitely going to be way different strategy wise, like where to spread out your cards, when to double down to try to get that location, to get the most points from it. And there should definitely be a pretty big twist to how the locations are going to play.
I was just thinking, there's a chance that the scrolls are like the entry tickets, by the way.
Oh, 100%. That's what those are. You just know it.
Yeah, I was just thinking about that while you were talking.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of rewards, and what I really like about it, by the way, this Juice Jeff emote, I feel like was
so good.
data mined a while ago. I'm like, oh, I've always wanted that Juice Jeff, and I was so worried that I was going to be like, admittedly, I'm not a guy who finishes many albums. I don't buy,
not anymore.
I have not bought a variant in God knows how long. Like, I have no idea. And so like I'm really far behind on that. On that note, secondary, please, more 700 gold variant albums, please, that you can unlock through progression. That's exciting. But yeah, like I'm actually really excited for that. They are on the expensive side. They're actually more expensive than the opening a portal for the new cards, which is kind of crazy. But I'm gonna get that Juice Jeff. I don't care about Uncle Ben as compared to
Uncle
Juice
Ben.
Jeff.
Yeah, I know, dude. Right? I already know, by the way, I'm going to get Uncle Ben first by opening this damn portal. I'm not getting allow feed till later. I can feel it. But anyway, yeah. What about the mechanics, though? You think the game mode sounds cool?
I think it sounds neat. I'm almost positive they're going to be banning Juggernaut and Debris because of the way the location stuff works. And it's just like there'll be mainstays in those decks. Like Juggernaut would be way too valuable in a game mode like this where you have to win a single location to get extra points. But it does sound neat. I like that they're being creative with the way they're approaching the game. And Yeah, no, this is good stuff. And now what we're starting to see though is we're starting to see a build of all these different game modes where we have high voltage, which I honestly still like. You have Deadpool's Diner, which had way better rewards the second time around, and they ironed some stuff out, but I still think there's a lot of room for improvement there. They're gonna have this as well, where they're gonna get a lot of feedback. So I would hope that every single month, eventually, we could have like a rotation of different limited time game modes. I think that having a constant rotation of limited time game modes would be awesome. Right? Obviously, I'm not a game dev, but
when they're not,
once it's made, it's got to be able to go back to the well.
When they're not like Deadpool's Diner, right? Like if this one's a banger, man, it's like that gives me so much hope, because then you have high voltage, you have this one, and then you add in a couple more into that rotation, and then it's like, oh, cool, man. Like you're pumped for that new one to come out. Good rewards to follow it. They now have the expectations set though that will, the rewards have to match this. This is too good. They're obviously not going to have 3 new cards every single time, but this is really cool to have something like this coming out. But either way, super cool. Excited for it. Lastly, we'll touch on card mastery. Not a ton broken down about this, but we have seen a couple things, and essentially, a couple things to highlight. It is retroactive, so all the work you've done will level up your cards. You'll unlock borders and flares and all this good stuff for your favorite variants and cards, which is cool. I think the coolest thing that I saw taken away is that there's a new like gold diamond flare if you've like mastered a card completely, which is what I've wanted for a long time, to show off like, I don't know how hard it is to get that, but if you're like a bounce player, to have all diamond gold beasts, to me, that's really cool. And hopefully that's something they bring to it all. And all of the backgrounds and the borders, they've done a good job. They've put a lot of care into it. And they know this is something we've been wanting, and it looks like they delivered pretty good in a few days here.
You got to give secondary credit where it's due. This was a mode that they cut for like technical game dev reasons that I honestly would never understand. And there was such pushback. There was so much like love for what this little addition to the game was supposed to be, that they brought it back. They're like, you know what? We're going to sit down. We're going to figure it out. The players want it. We already went through the pain of canceling it. Right? Let's bring it back. Let's do it right. And so like, yeah, I'm sure a lot of actual like effort went into getting this mode ready to rip, ready to go. And they've done it. And even if it like under delivers on first release, like this is something you can add to constantly. You can make easy adjustments to, but I don't think they will. I think that they've clearly put the effort in, and I'm excited for it. I really am, because I think you mentioned before, like in games like Smite and Heroes of the Storm and Dota, the more you play heroes, you'd get like these level up things, and like people you were against and on your team would see like, oh damn, like you've really played this character for 150 hours. Like this, I got to take this guy seriously. You know what I mean? So yeah, I absolutely like that. I'm excited to see like where my like Shinnot stuff ends up. Like where I'm just interested. Like where your Coulson's gonna be.
Yeah, dude, exactly. Whenever this first opens up, I'm excited to see kind of like the most played cards, where they end up. And yeah, even in Rivals, man, when someone has a Lord icon, you're like, okay, respect. Like, even if it's a bad hero, if they have that, they know how to play them. Regardless, they know how to play them. And so there's that respect factor. Love to see that come to Marvel Snap. So we've got a pretty packed week, man. We got TTR coming. We got the new game mode with 3 new cards there. You guys have a chance to get up to 4 new cards you don't have in that game mode. New emote, card mastery. It's a big one and a needed one for Marvel Snap, but also what is needed is a big time series drop. So we're going to be talking about that over on Alex's side of the Snapchat, as well as a review on Sam Wilson and Joaquin Falcon, and obviously the Snapchat mailbag. Guys, have a great week. Hopefully you guys enjoyed listening today, and as always, till the next one, happy snapping.